We begin today's mailbag with a super thanks from Chris JTC. Tom, will you or someone be live streaming all the games? Especially pick up a ton of subs. So this came in before our preseason game. Great time to remind everybody. We are live for every single Cowboys game. Now, we do not show the game because that is illegal, and that is how we lose the company by doing that. So instead, we'll have our watch parties. We'll broadcast the game in terms of me doing the play-by-play and the color stuff, having fun along the way. I'll probably melt down come January like I do every year. There are a lot more people than you might think that tune in only in January to watch me melt down. It's not fun, by the way, but we have fun in the regular season at least. So hit that sub button at youtube.com/CowboysTV. From Wes, holy crap, Oli, sign Lamb already. WTF. I hoped it would be done by now. And I'm actually hoping that this mailbag goes out after he signs and we have to cut this part out. That'd be great. But yeah, it's frustrating. Braden, who has changed his handle to @PayCD, which I find quite funny, says, I think the biggest training camp loser is Jerry Jones for messing up the easiest thing he had to do. I guess it wasn't the easiest thing, but it was the number one thing that they should have done. Like, you can go back and look at our to-do list for the offseason. Number one was pay CeeDee Lamb. Free up salary cap space. Spend money. They didn't do it. Very, very frustrating for me, and I know many of you. From Tyler Madden's Toilet Squad. My thoughts on Jerry Jones all in as well, and then he had the poop emoji, which didn't translate because emojis have been weird lately. Every time they say all in, I die a bit inside. It's just disrespectful. We know they're not all in. And they keep trying to gaslight us into saying that they are. So it annoys me to no end. From Al Cuts, are we the worst front office in the NFL? Thank you. So I do not believe you are the worst front office. I don't even know if you're in the bottom half of front offices. There are things this team does well. They identify talent very well. They are good at that. Now, getting greedy in round 2 with your gambler guys, they probably got to dial that back a little bit. But they draft very well compared to most teams. They don't miss on a lot of free agents. They don't spend enough money in free agents. I don't think they're great contract-wise. So there are things that they do well. And I don't think you build a team that wins 12 games 3 straight years in a row by being a bad front office. But are they good enough? How much do we assign the luck of finding Tony Romo, Dak Prescott back-to-back years and not getting Paxton Lynch or getting Connor Cook or getting Quincy Carter? Like, how much does that really end up playing into it there? It's a fair question. So I am curious your answers here. Rank the Cowboys front office in the NFL. It's not one. It's not top 5. If they were top 5, I think they'd make it to a championship game for once. But rank the Cowboys front office for me in the comment section. Pinned comment, actually, of today's show. Abja Pawar, how much is Dak to blame for playoff failures? Before I answer this, I think to an extent, the overall Dak conversation kind of turns into like the extremism conversation we get a lot in the actual world these days of like, if you're on one side, it is framed as, well, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, otherwise you're an idiot. But on the other side, it's, well, he's not even worth being a starting QB. And not many people actually feel that way. And to be clear, there's absolutely blame for Dak Prescott. And he is on the blame list. He has made mistakes in the postseason. He has started slowly far too frequently. There have been interceptions. There have been misplays. There have been mistakes. And I like having the conversations of, okay, well, this part was all bad. You lose 48-32 in a playoff game, there's a lot of things that went bad for you. Where does he rank on the playoff failures? On your list, your organizational list of like players and coaches in front office? Very much a real debate. Does he get blame? Absolutely. Does he get all of the blame? No. Like many things, it's somewhere in the middle. But he absolutely is to at least partially blame for the playoff issues. I'd say the quarterback in general probably gets too much blame, not just for Dak, but for a lot of other teams out there. But that's how it goes. Ecuador man AOG, would you trade Tank for Reddick straight up? Interesting idea, because you got two very different style of players there. I probably wouldn't, just because I know this team isn't going to pay Haason Reddick. Like, if I thought they would get a good deal for Reddick, I'd probably do it, actually. I would say this part, though. I think you need to have, if you're trading Tank, you need Marshawn Kneeland to be like an instant impact guy. Because Reddick is kind of more of the Sam Williams, Micah Parsons, like they're pass rushers. I get a little bit anxious if you trade away your best run stopper up front, if the goal was to win games this year. I think there are pros and cons to it. A super thanks as well from Mighty Ant says, stop flipping crappy, edited for language there, QB trades and trade for a DT and a running back. What are they doing? I won't ding individual moves for not being a different move altogether, right? Like, I'd still want to trade for a DT or get a running back or get one, whatever. Like, I would do that. Absolutely. But I'm not going to be mad when they flip a bad cornerback for another bad QB who has 2 years of contract left and might be a lot better, actually. So I like the Andrew Booth, Deshaun Wright trade in a bubble. It is a great example of, hey, the sum of the parts probably isn't where it needs to be because they haven't done the other things that I'd like them to do. So will the Cowboys make another trade? Y for yes, N for no in the comments section. From Ruben, Dak is not to blame for playoff failures. Mike McCarthy is the problem. I would rank McCarthy as a bigger problem over Dak because when the offense and defense, special teams are all kind of crappy, that's normally a coaching issue to me. But that's also not to say it's all Mike's fault. As I said a lot once the season ended, I don't think this was just one thing you had to fix. I think there were a lot of things you needed to adjust and tweak and modify, and the Cowboys' solution was we're not going to do anything. Like, if Dak had played a flawless game, they might have won. I can't even say they would have won the way I could have said against, like, the 49ers, for example, because the defense truly never showed up. The offense did far too late. Defense never showed up. There's a lot of things that went wrong in that game, and a lot of frustrating things. Food review. With the Sunday Ticket lawsuit being over, how does this apply to longer-term deals? We did a video on this, actually. It was the Cowboys Got Great News video. Because the excuse from Jerry Jones of, well, the Sunday Ticket lawsuit going to come down and hurt us, gone. It was like a 5-day excuse. That's all it lasted for there. What it means is, cap going to keep rising. QB contract's going to keep rising. As sticker shocky as every contract number is, it's been like a 3% raise at quarterback, if that, relative to the contract and salary cap went. It hasn't actually been that much of a raise. And it's basically been canceled out by the running back decrease in pay. Now, today's show was made possible by Rocket Money. I still wish the Cowboys had Rocket Money for salary cap. I think that might really benefit them. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills so you can help grow your savings. With Rocket Money, you have complete control over your subscriptions and a clear view of your expenses. The dashboard shows all your spending from this month compared to last month. You can clearly see your spending habits, and they'll help you create a custom budget as well. Keep your spending on track and start saving for life's more important things. Rocket Money has over 5 million users, and they have a total of over 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Daniel M. I like the defense on Sunday despite the loss to the Rams in preseason game number 1. I like the idea of an elite DT and my idea of Jeffery Simmons making it really good right now. Well, yeah, adding a top 5 DT always makes sense. I don't think he's available, though. I'd love to get Jeffery Simmons. I think you're right that adding, like, a part of the reason why you lost that game in the end is you're out there putting Justin Rodgers out there rushing the passer 25 times a game. That is not what Justin Rodgers is good at. That is a large human being. Like, you saw that touchdown play, right? He got off his block and he just didn't have enough juice left in him. If you're asking Justin Rogers to chase down QBs on scramble drills, it's just not going to work. You need a 3 technique out there. You don't have enough good ones. You played Albert Huggins, and by the way, I thought Albert Huggins got worked in that game. He's a 3 tech body, didn't play well. You need another 3 technique. Tom's 5th burner. Do the Cowboys need a DT or DE more? Maybe a Haason Reddick trade. They're not going to trade for Reddick. They're not going to pay him. So I'm not even going to get my hopes up there. I'd say DT because I worry about my number 3 DT right now. Who is it? If Osa goes down, this team's in trouble. At least you can talk yourself into, Nealand and Lawrence as your top 2 DTs. I'd like to get one of both because I don't know if Al-Qadim Muhammad or Shaka Tony is going to be those guys. So I prioritize DT, but I think DT, DE, and running back areas I'd like to find some more talent there. What do you think is the biggest need right now for the Dallas Cowboys? Sound off in the comments of today's show. Massive Matt. Think it's ever possible the cap plummets for some reason, lawsuit, whatever, and teams become screwed with their current big contracts? That'd be a depressing sight to see. The NFL does a pretty good job of... Do you remember the Mozgov money year? When it was just like the NBA had a massive jump in the cap and there were just reckless contracts going out, like extreme numbers, and they kind of didn't stagger the growth properly. NFL does a good job of that. The reason why the cap would drop would be some massive lawsuit that somehow the rich billionaires lose, which seemingly never happens, by the way. There's another pandemic somehow, which also seems unlikely. And there's a massive revenue impact. That seems highly unlikely because there's more TV contracts. The NFL is expanding to... I hate that we have to watch games on Netflix and Peacock. That's massive rev growth for the NFL. So I would say no. And if that's how you're operating as an NFL team, you're doing it wrong because the other contenders are not operating that way. Ecuador man, who gets cut first? Ball, well, let's go, or Scott? Operation White Lie. Josh Ball graded out really well on PFF. I don't know if I buy that fully. I have to go back and watch him particularly. But Operation White Lie, trade Josh Ball for somebody, has hope at least. Not feeling great about Matt. Well, let's go. In general, I get anxious when a player leaves the game to go get an IV in the preseason. It's a conditioning issue to me. That tells me. Scott needed that INT. I don't know if any of those guys make the roster, so it might be which guy gets cut first in terms of what's reported. It might be like an hour difference for all 3 guys there. Peacock won a $5 super chat. Who would be a Dallas player we could trade to get a better running back or DT? You have investments on the offensive line. You drafted Josh Ball. You drafted Matt. Well, let's go. Still awaiting more details on how severe the Chuma Adoga injury is. That could cause a bit of a wrench in those plans. Nathan Thomas has been banged up. But I would shop one of my backup offensive linemen. Maybe a receiver draws this from somebody, but everyone seemingly has interest in their own wide receiver. So I'm not going to get my hopes up necessarily for a trade, but I do have a lot of day 3 draft picks next year. I can trade one of those.